Good evening. Please stand while Teresa Gallegos and Lindsay Wilsey lead us in the prayer and pledge. Thank you.
Children that belong to you and their futures and their guidance and their well-being within their hands. Father, may we always remember that those that we talk about are those that are so important to you that you died for them, each and every one of them, each child, each teacher, each board member, each working staff person. Father, may we see everyone in that light and make the decisions that you would have us make. So we ask this and everything in your son's name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the February 19th, 2019 school board meeting. We have a presentation by the Madison County High School Beta Club officers.
Secretary.
Madison County High School Beta Club officers and our sponsor Susan Griffin traveled to Lufkin, Georgia on October 29th and the 30th last year to attend the National Beta Club Leadership Summit. While there we participated in breakout sessions, the officers training session, and whole group leadership sessions. We also participated in the rapid response challenge.
At the closing ceremony, we were presented with two awards, the National Beta Outstanding Leadership School Award and the Rapid Response National Qualifier Award. Because of the second honor, we are eligible to compete in a national competition in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma in June. We are here tonight to request permission to attend the National Beta Club Convention in June, the 19th through the 22nd. There will be no cost to the board. We are planning on raising all the money ourselves.
We're proud of you,
Thank you very
ladies.
much. All right, do we have a motion for the Beta Club to attend the...
We do.
That's already on our trips.
That's already. Oh, that's already, okay.
It's under 5.1. It's our
Okay.
fourth trip.
Okay, we got it. Thank you. All right. Amendments to the agenda. We have two amendments to the agenda. I'd like to add, if it affects the fiscal health of our district, I will allow amendments to the agenda. Number one, review policy on purchasing, Mr. Alfred. That's been placed under items for individual consideration, 5.5. Number two, plant survey, Violet Brown. That has been placed under items for individual consideration, 5.6. Plant survey, Dr. Pickles. Public comment, agenda items. The Sunshine Law requires that the school board meet and perform its duties in public. This meeting in public is an opportunity for the board to discuss and make decisions around the slated agenda. Citizens have the right to observe the meeting and hear all comments made by board members. School board meetings, however, are not a meeting of the public, an opportunity for the public to comment during meetings. On behalf of my fellow board members, at this time I would like to invite and encourage members of the audience to sign up regarding district issues. Please begin by stating your name. You will be limited to 3 minutes. This is your 3 minutes. The clock will not stop until your 3 minutes are completed. We will not be acting on the issues tonight unless they are part of the agenda. If you have a question, we will refer you to the proper person. I'd like to read a board policy about public participation at board meetings. All statements shall be directed to the chair. No person may question or address board members individually. Staff members shall not be expected to answer questions from the audience unless called upon by the board chair or superintendent. Thank you for supporting the Madison County School System. Barbara Dancy.
I'm not sure if I need to speak now or later because I don't actually see the item on the agenda.
Okay, well then we'll call on you later, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Teresa Gallegos.
I don't think I have to say my name, but you guys know me, and if you don't, you're gonna get to know me. So anyway.
We know you.
There's a couple of things I want to say. One is that you have on here revisions to the ESC special policies and procedures. Haven't seen anything that says what we're changing, from what we're changing it from to what we're changing it to, so that there isn't any way for us to have like really good public comment on that. I understand that there may be small ones or there may be big changes, but there certainly isn't anything here that says what you're changing. It just says revision and changes. And I think that in a program like ESC and special education, we need to be very careful that we publish that, not just the meeting, but the actual changes so that parents can actually see it. I, for one, would be interested, not that I have a child in the school anymore, but who knows, somebody might ask me. The other thing is that I don't know if this is something that really happens, but I just wanted to bring this up as a money-saving thing. I understand that your bus drivers are tested every year at a cost to the district, and I know that DOT regulations allow for 2-year certificates if you are in excellent health, and if we have people driving that require every year certificates, then we need to do it. But DOT has changed their regulations as of November, and even insulin-dependent diabetics no longer need a yearly exam. So if we could look into that, it might bring us a little cost savings for our bus, on our costs of doing our bus driving. We certainly do not want to sacrifice safety, but if it is someone who's stable, whose blood pressure is stable, whose diabetes is stable, whose health is of no concern, they are actually eligible for every 2 years. And that is a cost savings of whatever it is that you're being charged, between $80 and $150 per exam per driver. So you may want to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That is correct, and I thought that we were looking to do that at one time. If you had no health issue, that you could go on a 2-year certificate for your physical. Bus drivers have to take a physical every year. But if you don't have any health issues, I thought DOT had changed that to you could only had to do it every other year.
Yeah, I'd
And
like to
now,
have that
if you're
checked up
diagnosed
on.
with something, insulin-dependent diabetics can't drive, period. But if you, oh, did they change that too?
November of 2018.
Okay, but if you had diabetes, even if you were on pills or whatever, you had to do it every year because you had a condition that may get out of control. But if you had no conditions, you could do a 2-year certificate.
Well, let me ask, who would be in charge of checking that out? Okay, Mr. Stallmaker, if you'll get back to us on that, please.
I'm emailing Ivan right now.
Oh, okay, very good, thank you.
Ms.
Mr.
Gibson, Ms. Teresa, the policies, there is a link, and there's 4 policies. I can have Mr. Stoneaker print the policies out for you, since there is a public hearing on them. Are they
It's one thing,
4
there's 4 sections.
sections? Well, I see there's 4 sections. Well, they're kind of printed upside down. Um,
Could I?
Would you like a
just give
copy?
my email to someone, they can email it to me, and I can deliver it tomorrow? I can give it to Ms.
I talked to Ms. Newman today because she told me she's gonna be out of town. Any of the changes were made, statutory changes, either that or legislative changes, very similar to what we've done with other policies.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Mr. Williams?
Yes, Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to speak to the particular issue when it comes up on the agenda. Matter of fact,
Give us a number, please, what you want to speak to.
there are a couple that I would like to speak to. The purchasing policy,
Give me a number, please. I'll have to have a number. Just look at, just to make sure we have it right.
purchasing policy is 5.5. Purchasing policy 5.5, and your legal contract is 5.4. And what I would ask it is I would advise that 3 minutes equally.
Okay, thank you.
So I won't go over.
We'll let you speak before we get to those.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's move on down to, I didn't see your name here. Okay, all right.
Good evening. Joanne Hubbard. I've sat in silence now for the past several meetings and held on to the hope that one of you would speak out for decency and order in how we conduct business during a financial crisis. I could not believe that the school board members would direct the superintendent to compile a hit list of employees to terminate with no clear guidelines for said termination. I also could not believe that the superintendent would agree to such a directive without a well-defined process in place. This is not the first time we've faced a financial crisis and been faced with difficult decisions regarding retention of employees. I'd like to remind the board that you have procedures and past practices that have better served both you and the employees without causing the mental stress that people are dealing with now. You have a formula-driven, board-approved staff allocation manual based on student numbers, square feet, etc. You also, when faced with declining enrollment, have a board-approved staffing table to drive staff numbers. You have past practices that exist as a legal protection for both the board and the bargaining unit, and they work. Of course, you're going to have upset people during layoffs, but you wouldn't have the mental stress that you have now because everybody understands the process of last hired, first fired, deleting positions, not people, and then proceed by last hired, first fired categorically based on the staffing table. Nobody feels they were personally targeted and placed on a hit list when you proceed that way. I'm here tonight to ask the board to retract the hit list and abide by your board-approved procedures and past practices. Your employee morale is low right now, and that directly affects the students and student performance. You keep reminding that additional cuts will be made, so everyone is nervous and walking on eggshells. Nobody is working at their optimal potential because they're worried if their name will be placed on the hit list next. That's no way to run a school system. So I ask you to get rid of the hit list and proceed in a manner that's fair, transparent, decent, and in order, and can stand up in a court of law and in the court of public opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hubbard. All right, let's move on down to consent agenda items. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam
Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Daniels, second by Ms. Bell to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion or questions?
I would like to point out something.
Yes.
There was from the time of the workshop to now, there was a meeting added under the staff trip for Mr. Stolnaker, but there's no charge. It's an effect meeting in Gainesville.
All right, I'd like to ask something about the waste management. There was two different figures there. One was $90,615 and the other was $96,615. Is there?
It's an estimate overall.
Oh.
That's just their annual estimate. It's going to be billed based off the number of pickups.
Okay, so that wasn't definite figures then.
No, and it says estimate, and they're estimated.
Okay, I've had people question that, the two different figures, and I wondered myself.
Me too. And
I can
the
call
other-
Mr. Blair, but he said it's truly based on the number of pickups.
Okay.
So,
Okay, because the Pinetta and Lee had the same number of containers and the same number of pickups, and Pinetta's was 1,200 more than Lee's.
I think it
It
has to
didn't
do with
add
the
up right.
size on some of the schools. And based off, I know Central now is having recyclable for their cardboard. So, but it's truly based on, actually, I shouldn't say pickup, it's pulls is how they refer to it. It is truly based on the number of pulls.
Okay.
So, but all of it's truly an estimate. If they come an extra day, if we call them, there's going to be an additional charge. But this allows us, for budgeting purposes, to put a figure in.
So it'll be between $90,615 and $96,615.
Which is better than I believe, Mr. Ginn's not here. I think
Yes.
it was Mr. Reeves, do you remember 100?
It was over 100.
106. So it's about $10,000
Well,
less.
I thank Mr. Ginn for saving us some money there. If you'll keep us apprised of what's going on with that, Mr. Copeland. All right, go ahead.
Keep in mind that we have mitigated some of that by picking it up through food service, non-fuel fund. Because obviously they generate a portion of the waste. So it's perfectly fine to do that, and so that'll help offset some of it.
Well, thank you for looking into that and saving us some money also. I'd also like to make a statement. From this day forward, no contracts will be placed under consent. Nothing is to be placed under consent that would affect the general fund. All right, by a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? 5-0, Becky. Items for individual consideration. 5.1, student field trips out of county. Dr. Pickles.
We have 4 from the high school. There's the CTE students to FAMU, and that'll be paid from Carl Perkins. We have the marine science students, and that will be a student-funded trip. We have the grad bash, which is coming up, but same thing they did last year. Or grad bash, not that one. But they've done that one, the universal, and that will be a student-funded. And then the Beta Club. And so that's where that one is on there. And so they'll be going in June. So, and that one is out of state. So that one's through Beta Club and then student funded. So I do ask for your approval of these 4 trips.
I make the motion to approve the 4 field trips.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the student field trips by Mr. Alfred, second by Ms. Williamson. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? 5-0, Becky. All right, 5.2, policy updates, 18.2 and 19.1. Mr. Stallnaker?
Madam Chairman, if I may, right here.
Yes.
Back in December, we had a multitude of policies, version 18.2, as well as some policy updates for special emergencies and so forth in 19.1. And we advertised them, we intend to have them approved at the end of our January meeting, but we had to cancel that one because of various other reasons. That's why we just extended it out one more month. But they have been advertised since December 17th.
All right.
And they're either statutory or legal change and technical change that will occur in the process.
Public hearing, any comments? Is there a motion to approve the policy updates 18.2 and 19.1?
I make the motion to approve the policy updates, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Alford, second by Mr. Daniels, to approve the policy updates 18.2 and 19.1. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 5.50. 5.3, revisions to ESE special policies and procedures.
Madam Chairman, if I may also, these policies were advertised about the same time we advertised it. And they're initially scheduled for the November 20th meeting. I can print them or email them to Ms. Gallegos.
Yes.
But they are time sensitive because we've already postponed them twice.
Yes. Is that what, all right with you, Ms. Gallegos?
Yeah, can I just get a copy of them?
Yes.
If I have any questions.
Then come back and see us.
I know who to call.
We appreciate your interest. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Public hearing. Is there a motion to approve revisions to ESE special policies and procedures?
I make the motion to approve the revisions to the ESC special policies and procedures.
We have a motion by Mr. Alford, second.
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Williamson to approve revisions to ESC special policies and procedures. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 5-0.
Thank you.
Contract for 5.4, contract for legal services, Mrs. Gibson.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
If I can have 1 minute, 30 seconds of my
If he's going to,
To this board today, I would just like to say, first of all, I'm George Williams. Good afternoon, good evening. What I would like to say to this board as far as contracted legal services are concerned, considering the time span that we're living in now, the era that we're dealing with, one thing that I want this board to be very considerate of is that while it would be nice to have unified legal services where everybody who did business for the district could use the same attorney, we know that that is not often the case these days. And so while you're considering contract for legal services, I certainly hope that you would remember that the last thing we need now in this day and age is somebody who's willing to take advantage of an error that we may make, not having the right legal representation or legal representation that is suited for that particular issue. So I think it's very pertinent that this board remember that legal services is a requirement today. It's not just something you have as a luxury. It is a requirement. And considering our financial status, it is going to be ultimately important that we make sure that we have the legal service that we need to have for the issues that we have to represent. And so therefore, again, I say it would be nice to have a unified legal service, legal system, but today we have so many varied issues that may not be possible. So please do consideration considering these contracts.
thank you, Mr. Williams. In order for us to be fiscally responsible and completely transparent, it is necessary to address Dr. Pickles' contract for legal services. The contract with Levine and Stivers was approved on June 17, 2017. Due to much concern, we repeatedly requested the bills, invoices, and where the money came from in the budget. We have yet to see this information. We are not saying it is improper or not improper. We are not saying the superintendent will never need an attorney. We are saying we cannot afford the luxury. It is my opinion that we need to cancel the contract with Levine and Stivers. Also, the superintendent must seek prior approval from the board before any invoice is paid for attorneys. Mr. Reeves will continue to conduct business on behalf of the school board. What is the pleasure of the board?
I agree with what you just said. I do think that Mr. Reeves is the board's attorney, and he has represented us well. He's represented us for years, and I agree.
I'll say he's represented us without a problem, too.
Right. Right.
But haven't there been issues that occurred that we needed another lawyer? Like if Mr. Reeves is, supporting the board and then there was a conflict of interest with the superintendent, when they need another lawyer?
If there's a conflict of interest, possibly.
Is FADS, do they offer legal services?
They do, I think.
They do.
Your risk management has a legal service.
Would you like me to
That would be-
address
Yes, ma'am.
some of the situations? I went through the December invoice, since I'm very aware that a board member has them. And I did cross off, now that I'm through the fiscal recovery plan, and I'm very aware that Mr. Reeves is pretty much aware of some of this same stuff. A lot of this was due to our employee termination and one other issue. It's a conflict of interest for Mr. Reeves to deal with the employee termination. He can handle it, but then you have to turn around and deal with somebody else. There was a review of a lot of the documentation to make sure we had everything properly to turn it over to the negotiator, your union negotiator, make sure we had everything, because I have to also turn it over to him, have everything turned over, and I have to turn it over to professional practices. I know that originally Mr. Reeves did plan to prosecute it, and I did question, I said, it's conflict of interest. What are we going to do? I'm also aware that it was explained how it was a conflict of interest. At some point, the board would have had to have hired another attorney. Mr. Reeves cannot technically represent me in the prosecution and turn around and advise the board. And he did agree with that. And that's fine.
And again, in the future, if that were to happen, then we would get an attorney, but we're looking back through 2017 and 18, which his legal bills were greater than Mr. Reeves and Leonard Dietzon's. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying, but that doesn't speak for 2017 and the rest of 2018.
We also said the superintendent must seek prior approval from the board before any invoice is paid for attorney. So we're not saying you are not entitled to an attorney. We're saying that if you need one, you'll have to come before the board. That's my recommendation, fellow board members.
And again, I feel that out of respect to us, we need to know what's being spent so we're not blindsided like we were with this total bill of these 2 years. I mean, as a board member, I've sat here for 16 years. Never do I remember a superintendent having an attorney, a private attorney, more or less than having a bill that great. Again, yeah, in looking back, we did approve it, but in all reality, it was an approved contract with the superintendent and her attorney, not with the board. And you know what? I accept the charges. I accept that we had to pay it because as a board member, I take responsibility because we should have been vigilant at that point looking at these bills monthly. And we weren't. And I'm taking responsibility. And from this day forward, we're starting to do it.
I think, Mr. Alford, we put faith in the superintendent that it would be used wisely. I haven't mentioned the amount. It's appalling to me. But anyway, let's move forward from this point on.
No, I agree. And that's why I've asked for it to be put on the agenda for us to look at concerning what we look at and what we are seeing because granted, if we would have seen that, it would have never got to the point where we're at tonight.
Well, this is a new day, and every penny will be looked at. We were advised to do this with Mr. Oliva Vice Chancellor, K through 12 Public Education. And basically, I even have a quote from Dr. Pickles. I have to look at the financial health of the district, which is what we're doing. It's all about money.
Then I also ask that you direct the board attorney to return my calls and my emails in a timely fashion.
I think Mr. Reeves has already answered that in a prior meeting. If you have a problem with Mr. Reeves, come before the board. I think he's already addressed it. Do you have anything to say, Mr. Reeves? Okay. All right, again, in my opinion, we need to cancel the contract with Levine and Stivers. Also, the superintendent must seek a prior approval from the board before any invoice is paid for attorneys. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to present a 30-day, to cancel the contract.
Within
I think
30
we have to give
days.
30-day notice.
Yes, sir. It's a paragraph 2 in the contract.
Right, it's on the contract.
But
All
if
right.
it's necessary for her to get another lawyer, she would be able to obtain.
If she comes before the board prior, yes. She has to come before the board. That's, in other words, we're not saying the superintendent will not have an attorney. We're not saying that, but you'll have to come before the board. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Alford to cancel the contract with Levine and Stivers. We'll give them the 30-day notice. What about seeking prior?
Absolutely.
You want the whole, like I said?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. All right, we have a motion to cancel the contract with Levine and Stivers. Also, the superintendent must seek prior approval from the board before any invoice is paid for attorneys. We have a motion by Mr. Alford. Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Ms. Williamson. All in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0.
Madam Chairman, do you want me to send the 30-day notice?
Yes, if you'll do that. So from this day forward, we will not be responsible for the bills from Levine and Stivers.
Well, you gotta give 30 days notice.
Well, after the 30 days, right, okay. All right. Mr. Williams? Okay. Okay. All right. Purchasing policy, Mr. Alford?
Yes, ma'am. I asked to have this placed on the agenda concerning the purchasing of and contracting for commodities and contractual services. It's policy number 6320. Again, in the current state we're in, I feel that it is our duty as board members, our duty to the people of this community to be as conscientious as we can of the financial status of this district. And I believe the one way we can do that is by knowing what we're paying. And at this point, I don't know that we have a true grasp of it. And again, this is simply an action to give us a better understanding and to benefit the district so we can move forward and be in the good financial state that we need to be in. Within the policy, if you turn to I did. Mine was on the phone, so it was hard to. This is the first paper copy I've seen, so.
On page 2.
Is it purchasing and contracting for commodities and contractual
It's on page
services?
Page 2 is the bid item.
That does authorize by law and completes districts for the requesting.
There's a specific section.
There, yes, sir. The section was an A, and excuse me for, again, let me pull up on the phone.
Take your time. Take your time.
The one you had told me was page 4.
It's page 4. Thank you.
There's an exception to the bidding requirements, so it's on page 4, it's paragraph B.
It starts with B. Excuse me while I pull up the,
Take your time, Mr. Alford.
again, this is one of the disadvantages of getting stuff on paper and the internet.
Are you looking on the internet thing, Bart?
I am.
Is it page 5 at the very bottom, A?
Yes, yes. It's page 5 at the bottom, 5A. Yes. It's on page 5, it's the very bottom at A, Superintendent Designing Authority, designating authority. Currently, the superintendent is authorized to purchase up to, no, that's not
I
it.
think, Mr. Alford, that's the authority to enter into contracts. If you go back to the previous page, there's the authority to purchase commodities and contractual services. I think that's what you're looking for. On page 4, at the top of page 4 of the printed out copy on B.
Yes, sir, that's it. Again, excuse me, in the future, I would like this in paper form, please. This is really unacceptable.
Miss Becky's very happy to print us off anything that we need.
Thank you.
It's tough to read some of this
Well,
stuff
you have it online.
The page
and-
numbers don't correspond.
Okay, it's, the superintendent is authorized to purchase commodities and contractual services for the total amount does not exceed $5,000. Again, I think at this point, and I don't know what the pleasure of the board is, that we need to lower it to either 250 or 500. Again, whatever the board, is the privilege of the board. I mean, what you would like to do.
Well, we're charged with being fiscally responsible. The taxpayers are watching and they're listening, and I think we need to, like I said, keep a very close eye on the money.
Well, whatever the board would like to do,
So it's 5,000, you want to lower it to,
either 250 or 500.
what is the pleasure of the board?
If I could say this is a policy, so the most you can do today is instruct staff how
Right.
to advertise a hearing. So I think if you're wanting to change it, the most you can do is say we want to advertise to do this.
Right.
If you'll come up with a policy change, we'll make a motion to advertise the policy change.
Okay, I personally would like 250. I mean, I don't know how the other board members feel.
Okay. We have a motion to advertise a policy
But
change.
there's more aspects to it.
Oh, there's more?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
There's more aspects. I mean, I don't know what the others, how they feel about,
right.
With Mr. Stalback, would it be easier if he puts policy up there and strikes through and then you can look at everything?
Suggestion, because it's a tedious process in updating these policies. If we can do this at our workshop in March, in about 10 days, or a time where I can get it in an editable form, and I can make your changes as you're telling me, and then we can get them approved that way.
well, what I'm saying here tonight as a board member, I think it's imperative that we start reviewing these bills. And I'm sort of feeling like I'm being pushed to the back burner of not wanting us to see the bills. And I just want reassurance from the administration that that's not the case.
We can,
I mean, I hear what Mr. Stallnaker is saying, but as a board member, we have the right to see the bills, we have the right to approve the bills or deny the bills. in the shape we're in right now, I think it is our best interest to do this.
I agree.
And I respect that March, but March would be another month that we've paid out stuff that maybe we shouldn't have paid out stuff.
We had a meeting with Mr. Copeland and Dr. Pickles the other day, and we agreed that we would be seeing the invoices before they're paid.
Okay.
So I don't know if this represents.
You can add to this policy, but you can't take away from the policy. I'm just asking for, you can add restrictions to what the superintendent should do. Because I've spoken with Neola about this as we work with the process. And it just takes a little bit, it's not as easy to modify the policies without working through Neola's process is what we hire them for, to make sure we're all legally and technically correct with these policies.
I understand that, but also I need to know that we're going to set a date and we're going to review these bills.
Would you like to meet?
I think you could go ahead and do what you need to do. I agree with what Mr. Sam said.
All right, let me
Give us
ask.
some time.
Let me ask the board. Would you be
Wait,
interested?
right.
Excuse me, with all due respect, we're going to leave here tonight knowing a date where we're going to look at these bills.
He said
Right.
it's gonna be at the next workshop.
With all due respect.
Let me make a suggestion. Would you be interested in getting together the board prior to the workshop in March?
Yes, ma'am.
That'd be fine.
In other words, we don't have to wait until 10 days to do this. This can be done tomorrow or the next day or whenever it's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Alford,
Go ahead.
like when we met the other day, I can start immediately getting you what is the AP invoice run and the PO run that we balance, and I sign off on before any checks are cut. I mean, that can start immediately.
But I feel that all of us as a board need to sit down and look at it because what one person may not see, someone else may see, that brings up attention to the matter. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I don't know that, I guess in a perfect world, individually, we could come in and do it, but I don't know that we're at that point. I think we all need to sit down as a group and do it in a collaborative method where one person may see something that someone else misses.
I think originally it was suggested that I take a look, and I backed off of that. This is something the board needs to look at. So
And I
mean,
agree with that 100%, but I wanna make sure that the policy be modified correctly.
And no one has said that the policy will not be modified
I'm just saying, I'm just giving
correctly.
Mr. Sam time to make sure, you know, he said that he could kind of mark off what we need
We'll
along
work-
the way with.
we'll work with Mr. Stallnaker. We'll make sure that he has.
You know, we could do it before the 10 days up, but just let's give some time to
we-
get it right.
We will do it.
We
before the
will
10
do it before the
That's
10
fine.
days
Not
is
that
up.
we can,
And
we
we
will.
will accommodate
We will.
Mr. Stallnaker too.
We will.
May I interject here? There's a couple of things we could do. We could start to take the recommendations. However, we could go ahead and implement the 250. Mr. Copeland could go ahead and make those changes in our Skyward system and change those thresholds so that anything that is actually, anything over 250 has to have the board approval. That's just a change that he has to change in there that requires board minutes.
But we still need to have it in policy.
But we, and yes.
In the
Mr.
meantime,
Alford,
you're saying-
We still have to
okay.
go ahead and work through this.
So we could even, we've got, depending on what PO group or grant that an expenditure originates in, we've got like 6 levels. We've got more PO approval than anywhere I've seen. And I approve every one of them. And so we can even drop someone in. We've got 9 levels on the Skyward to electronically, you can see the attachments, the invoice and everything, and you know, that's an option too, so think about it.
See, in reference to the policy, you as a board can direct the superintendent to direct me to develop an administrative procedure which will meet the purpose of what you're trying to do. Administrative procedure is how you work and how you implement that policy. So we can create an administrative procedure and add to the dollar amount and decrease that threshold whatever you want. But that will get us through the process as we develop and update the policy. If you change the policy in 2 years down the line and you're fiscally sound, then you have to go back through the process again. But it's administrative procedure, you have administrative procedure.
I can't foresee us, I think we need to be,
That was just a hypothetical.
right. I'm saying, I think we should be fiscally responsible 2 years from now, 10 years from now, and 25 years from now. In other words, this is just,
That's correct. I'm just
yeah,
using that
yeah.
scenario.
okay.
So you can do it two ways. You can update the policy, and that's gonna take quite a bit of time. Or I can come up with administrative procedures like we've done up to hiring practices and so forth. But I just need the parameters from the policy that Mr. Alford wants changed.
Well, okay, that's the first one. The second one that's in this is concerning contracts. Currently, it's up to 25,000. I believe that the board needs to review all contracts before it's done, before any contract is done. And I don't know what dollar amount you need to set that's to ensure that we're going to see all contracts.
Well, we're going to put all contracts under items.
But the point I'm making is, we probably do need to set a dollar amount where a contract doesn't go through, and then it would be a contract going through instead of us seeing all contracts. And if we were to just blatantly say all contracts, then you would have to possibly change this whole,
Okay,
understand what I'm saying?
right. What is the pleasure of the board on that? How do you feel about it?
So you're saying, Mr. Alford, just to change the amount for the contract? So we
The
won't have to
amount-
change the whole policy,
The
just the
amount for
amount?
the contract, where the contract would have to come before the board for us to approve it. Whether we want to do it as $10, $20, $100, I mean, I don't know that you would have a contract for that small of amount where we're guaranteed that we're going to see the contract, where it's not going to be done and we're not going to know what's happening. And again, not that we're trying to micromanage, but I think we've been put in a position that we really have no choice, and people are saying we're not doing our job, we're not managing, and so you know what? We are doing our job. We are about to take this over and do it.
If we're responsible, Mr. Alford, then we have to look at every penny that comes through.
You're right.
Well, is it safe to say all contracts come to us?
Well, it
no matter-
doesn't at this
It
point
doesn't at that point.
because it's up to a $25,000 threshold.
So we need to lower the threshold down to,
Mr. Reeves, could you
can you
do
give us
some
some
guidance?
guidance on that?
Sure. If you want to change that, you can do one of two things. You can change it to simply say all contracts. That would require a significant rewrite. You could drop that number down to $1. That probably accomplishes what if you wanted all contracts to come to the board, you could do it that way and you wouldn't have to rewrite the rule. But that,
What do you feel that we should see all contracts?
Yes, I do. And I like what Mr. Reeves said. In other words, $1, that means we see everything. Contracts mean money, so we need to keep an eye on it.
Could you poll the board and see how the others feel?
I agree.
Ms. Williamson? Ms. Bell? Mr. Daniels?
Yes, ma'am, I agree. We're in a position where we must take our oversight to another level. I mean, we have to at this point. Not sure how to what extent, but I think we do.
All right. I think it's an agreement that all contracts will come before the board at this point.
So
you've got
$1 is what we're saying?
$1.
The other area is emergency purchases. And in reading the policy, I'm sure, Neola's in a lot of larger districts, and I'm sure it's pertaining to like large districts, but if we were to have a true emergency here, I've never known of us not being able to make decisions or to meet or have a phone call where we're saying, can we do this? Where you're not given 25,000 and then greater 50,000 when it's determined in writing that an immediate danger to the public or health and safety's in existence. I mean, at that point, I feel that we would meet and we would do what we needed to do. Again, that is another area where currently you may enter into contracts no greater than 25, greater than 50 when it's determined that you're in immediate danger. But I would hope in our small district that we would be right there
Right.
from the beginning where we can make those
Well,
decisions.
wouldn't our contracts of the dollar and above cover that?
But this is in the contract, this is in the policy.
Okay.
That actual
So-
emergency purchases is what it's called.
How does the board feel about this?
I agree with Mr. Alford. I'm so old, I started to call him Bart.
You s- what's that?
I said, I agree with Mr. Alford. I'm so old, I started to call him Bart.
That's all right.
I'm not sure about the emergency. It's something I.
Well, it involves a lot of money, 25,000.
Up to 50,
Up to
greater
50.
than 50.
That's a lot of money for them, to us not have any control over at all.
We don't want to have an emergency, but I can see an emergency that would come up, that would be $50,000 that the board would not be available and know what was going on. Because we all know each other. If something happened at one of those schools that, or in, of the district or anything that involved $50,000, we would all know it.
And again, we're all a phone call away where the board members could be polled of how you feel about this, which we have been before. Are you okay with this? And it could go through immediately. I mean, that's just my feelings on it. Again, if we're looking holistically at the big picture, this is part of the big picture. This
It
is
is
part of
part-
the big picture in this policy.
It sure is.
Can I say one
Mr.
thing?
Reeves?
If you would have to physically have 3 board members in the room.
In a present, that's what I would
Now, you
think.
could have 2 of them on the phone, but you gotta have a quorum in the room
Right.
to approve the contract. Now, I don't know if that changes what you're saying, but you couldn't just do it totally by phone.
Right. Well,
If some kind of emergency, we all got to be, at least 3 of us got to be somewhere together to vote on it. Am I correct?
Yes. So, Mr. Reeves, where do we stand right now with Mr. Alford's suggestions? And the board seems to go along with them, too.
Well, you can do one of 2 things. You can do like Mr. Stallnecker had recommended and have a public hearing and kind of work through these issues, or you can go ahead and, decide what you want to do and go ahead and have that advertised. One thing you've got to, it does take some doing. I mean, you've got to go through and actually point out exactly what you want to change. So you have to handle it that way. I think it's a policy, so you have to have a public hearing, it's got to be advertised, all that kind of stuff.
when are you saying, Mr. Stallnecker, this is going to be?
I just emailed Mr. Whitmer to send me an editable version. But in the meantime, like I mentioned initially, we can develop a administrative procedure to get the intent that the board desires right now.
Until the policy has time to go through the process.
As far as the 250 that you're wishing, Mr. Copeland can begin that tomorrow.
All right.
Well,
That's just a matter of changing a dollar figure threshold.
and again, the other aspects of it also, I would want to begin tomorrow too, if that's possible.
I missed what you're talking about.
Dr. Pickles said the 250 may begin tomorrow, but I'm also speaking to the other, the contracts and all of it. If not, then I'm not agreeing to this tonight. I mean, I'm just saying that, we've got to have some understanding that this will start tonight.
May I ask the board to, before you leave, to give me the parameters of exactly what you want changed, and I'll develop the administrative procedure, send it to Dr. Pickles and to you guys.
Can we make it in the form of a motion?
Wait, and, okay.
Is there a motion to approve, I'll see, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Alfred, to establish a $250 threshold in spending? All contracts will be reviewed by the board from at $1 on up, and for emergency purchases, we will also use the $1.
Yes, ma'am, I make the motion
Would
for
that
that.
satisfy?
I make the motion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. Did you need something?
You've also got down below $10,000 purchase order that the superintendent gives copies of all purchase orders 10,000 and above. It probably doesn't make sense to have purchase orders at 10,000 and the approval at lower than that. So you may want to address that just to be consistent.
What do you recommend that to be, Mr. Reeves?
I would just make it consistent. I mean, if you're wanting the purchase orders are where you've already got an approved contract, and so where those purchase orders come out. You may want to just say now with emails, I don't know if there's any reason y'all couldn't be copied on all purchase orders. I don't know, maybe the superintendent wants to chime in on that.
250 also to be
250?
consistent.
Okay.
I mean, how does the other board members feel about it?
I agree, 250.
So what are we making the motion on? We're making the motion of lowering the amount of money.
We are going to be, well, let me repeat it again. We are lowering the threshold of spending to 250.
Okay.
All contracts we will be reviewing it from $1 on, in other words, all contracts.
Okay.
For emergency purchases, will also be $1 and up. For the purchase orders, it will also be the $1 and up.
From 250.
Oh, the 250, excuse me.
I think, again, consistency. If you go back to page 4 on B and C, B is the one that has the $5,000 figure that y'all changed. C, though, says the superintendent is authorized to purchase commodities and contractual services, but it doesn't give a dollar amount. I think if you're going to be consistent, you probably put that same, whatever y'all decide, put that same dollar amount on C as well.
Yeah, just to make it clear.
Make it consistent.
All right. Does everyone understand what we're doing?
Yes, ma'am.
So with the emergency,
Pardon
we're
me?
still saying that we're gonna have, if something was to happen, 3 people would have to be in the room to vote on it?
I think that's the motion as it presently is
Right.
formulated, so if you don't agree with that, now's the time.
I don't agree with that part.
Well, how much money do you think we should give for that?
It's at 25 right now?
It's at 25,000 up to 50,000, up to greater than 50.
I would say at least 10,000.
$10,000
Just in case if anything happens and if all 3 of us couldn't be in the room to vote and an emergency happened, we need something on hand just in case. Because if it's at $1 and we all can't meet to vote on it as an emergency, then we have a problem. Am I right, Mr. Reed?
Yeah, I think that's that's what you 5 people need to decide. Whether or not what the dollar figure you're comfortable that you can get together and meet on.
But with them placing it at $1, if something was to happen and an emergency happens and we have to come up with some funds quickly,
You wouldn't be able, the superintendent wouldn't be able to enter into a contract above that amount without the board approval.
But again, to enter into a contract, you wouldn't enter into a contract immediately if something happened. I mean, again, I'm all for putting a certain amount of like petty cash there if you needed money for something, whether it be $1,000, $2,000, where you can, if you need money for something that an emergency happens, but we should be able to meet as within 3 people to do a contract.
I agree with you with the 250. I agree with you with the 250, but with emergency, it's probably a little different in my eyesight.
Well, again, I don't know.
I know we're looking at every dollar, and it's very important to count every dollar. But with emergency, I think you just need to have a little wing. I mean, to put it at $1, that's just.
Well, you can't enter into a contract immediately anyway. You
No.
got to draw it up
Right.
and that kind of thing.
That wouldn't
So-
happen the day of the emergency, no.
I still think it should be at $1. I don't know.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Alford, would you please give us the motion? I have to get this straight with.
Okay. I make the motion to lower spending to $250, to all contracts $1, and above, we will have to review. Emergency purchases also at $1, and the PO orders, it was over 10,000, now it's $250.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Alford. Threshold of spending for $250. All contracts will be $1. The board will review them. All emergencies will be $1. The board will approve it. We will have purchase orders, the threshold of $250. Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Daniels to approve the $250 threshold, all contracts $1, emergencies are $1, and the purchase orders will be $250. Any discussion or questions?
Again, I just want to reiterate, at this point, I feel that as a board, we have no option but to do this, to be as sound as we can financially and try to help the district move in the right direction.
We're responsible, Mr.
We are
Alford.
responsible.
We're responsible. That's the bottom line. By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 4-0.
May I interject
Excuse me, 4-1.
I would like to make a comment. I would like to remind the five of y'all, the reason we are in our fiscal crisis is due to our FTE reduction. If you will recall, by all of our monthly financial statements, we have been spot on with our expenditures. We have not overspent. So based on every month, we have been planning and going right accordingly. Actually, October or November, I know that Mr. Copeland explained why our revenue was so down. It's because we did not have our local tax dollars. He also explained why we were way up in our instructional materials, because we do pay that one. So that one was extremely high, but we were spot on every month for the 5 months, for the 6 months. So you were making statements and referring to as if there are other things that our financial department or even myself has done to get us in this shape.
No,
It is not, let me finish. This is due to a reduction and a recalculation now that we have to address because of our students. I do have a list I can show you where every student has gone. Yes, we have to address our reduction due to our FTE. So we have to make adjustments in our budget. However, it's due to that. It is not due to any fiscal mismanagement by Mr. Copeland or any of his staff or myself.
We have never accused Mr. Copeland of doing anything.
I just want to state that because
Excuse me.
Let me finish, Mr. Alford. Mr. Copeland has repeatedly showed you every month where we are spot on with our expenditures. So I just want to continue to state that. We are spot on with everything. So now we have to account for this reduction in our FTE and in our revenue by not having these students. So yes, we have to now tighten our belt, so to speak. We have done that with our fiscal recovery plan. Mr. Copeland, would you go ahead and share the news that you've emailed in today? But I will let you share this happy news, this money you received today.
We did receive the $355,000 today on the first year refund from Blue Cross Blue Shield. So it should be in the bank tomorrow. And we have some other good things going on. We have some possible options if we can get through a little bit of the heartburn. With some health insurance options as far as short year renewals go. We're kind of dissecting the cost benefits of that now quotes out there for plans that are at least as good as our employees have now, at least as good, if not better, with anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000 in annual premium reductions. It's just, I don't know if I want to wait till October to capture that. Now, there's a lot of moving parts, and I don't have experience with anything. I've got experience with health insurance from the board. So we've got a lot of stuff to think through, but I think we, again, and back to what Dr. Pickles was saying, of course we can, anything we're doing we can do better. And a second set of eyes, I have no problem, I'm an open book. But I do want to make sure that again, we can do better. I don't know how better, but I just want to be sure y'all have to be comfortable with your finance department, or you need to find one you can be comfortable with.
Mr. Copeland, let me make something perfectly clear. You have never, ever been criticized for this. But we, the board, are responsible. We're responsible for the money, the five of us. Therefore, we're going to make a proactive approach to this. We want to look at all of this. We're not doing this for the fun of it, that's for sure. So we appreciate what you've done. You have never been criticized by any of us. Now, Dr. Pickles may have criticized you, but we haven't criticized you. We have never criticized you.
I'm short of accounting help now, so I mean.
Yeah.
Ms. Gibson, I just want to say, I want to respond to Dr. Pickles' comment. Mr. Copeland, at no means is this as a view as a criticism.
Never.
And you know, as the leader of the district, Dr. Pickles, you should welcome best practices in our finances.
That's what I'm thinking.
And in reviewing this is best practices, I feel. It shouldn't be viewed as punitive. This is best practice, and it's a great way to be transparent with the public. And as a board member, I want to be 100% transparent in what we're spending and that we're trying to do the best we can. Again, I'm sorry that you're trying, again, to avert the blame to us, when, again, we are trying to work through this. And again, this is no dig at the finances for us to micromanage. We have been told by DOE that we need to manage, that we need to be fiscally responsible.
We're doing what we were told
So
to
we're
do.
trying to do it. It's been stated in the paper that we're incompetent, that we're not doing our job. We're trying to do our job. So you know, if people feel that way, I'm sorry. We're just trying to be transparent and do our job. I'm sorry.
And like Mr. Copeland said, the more eyes, the better.
Well, and I think Dr. Pickles, I appreciate, it is a little confusing, and where I know y'all and where the intentions are, it makes me feel better that it came up and you said that, so I'm gonna,
We're good.
yeah, well,
Okay, we're good, Mr. Copeland. All right, very good. 5.6, plant survey, Dr. Pickles.
Ms. Brown emailed the plant survey. She completed it. This is the survey that you requested. So it is uploaded. Actually, she sent it to me this afternoon. So the recommendation for the annex is it's recommended for continued use. And so I kind of questioned, there was an annotation down there that she had. So I had to go pull the statute. The statute is 1013.28. So I did upload that for you, and I actually highlighted it under the disposal. So it is there, and so it refers you then back to the educational plant survey. So based off that, then my recommendation is to accept the plant survey as presented, and then Ms. Brown also needs a copy of the minutes, and she needs your acceptance of this plant survey.
Thank you, Dr. Pickles. Do we have a motion to approve the plant survey?
Before you do that, can I say something?
Yes.
The statute we're talking about is the statute for the disposal of real property. And think the board was saying that you wanted to dispose of that facility. The statute says that to dispose of it, you have to pass a resolution finding that it's unnecessary for educational purposes as recommended in an educational plan survey. That survey says that it's still needed. And the ancillary, if you look at the page 1, it's got existing ancillary recommended for continued use, and then recommended ancillary recommended for continued use. So that educational plan survey would not allow you to dispose of the property. What you may want to do is you may want to go ahead and move, if you're wanting to go down that road and dispose of it, you may want to go ahead and move folks out of that and then ask the DOE to come back and update the survey.
So right now, it's actually not being used by students.
It's not, and that's where it says ancillary. Up there. That's, like this
Right.
building would be ancillary.
Why are they saying that that's education? I mean, why are they saying that it's,
Well, we do have home education students that do come for meetings there from time to time. So our students that are homebound, we do have those students that come.
but
there
they
in
couldn't
meetings.
go somewhere else in the district?
Well, they could, but
We have a lot of empty
that's-
spaces.
we do, but that has been one of our places that we use for either a homebound teacher. That has been one of our locations.
So probably it was presented to them that a lot of stuff is going on in there for students,
I would imagine.
obviously.
I wonder how many
No,
students have
it
actually.
did, actually, if you go and look,
I mean, you just said that it's used for homebound, and if that
No.
picture's painted for
it
the,
has no student stations.
but you just said that it was used for,
I'm telling you that.
but what I'm saying, if they were told that, then that could have altered their,
I did not talk to Ms. Brown until after I received this, because I was questioning the annotation that was made.
well, I mean, again, I don't know, there's no students in it, so I don't know how it's used for students.
Well, it also says facility use, county administration. And we do receive PICO funding for this.
What is the pleasure of the board?
What do you recommend, Mr. Reeves? I mean, it's saying that it's,
I think if the board intends to get rid of this piece of property, I think the last time we were saying, or what the board said was to go ahead and get the education plan survey, don't make people move. I think that may not have been the best way to handle it, because if people are already in there, then that may influence them to say we do need it. You may, if you've got space other places, you may want to go ahead and move folks out of there, and then ask them to come back and update the survey.
Okay, now, we gave them a date to move by the end of the month.
I'm sorry, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that was,
By
we
March
actually
the 1st, I
extended it
think.
to, I think, March 1st, or Becky, if you could look in the minutes, I think it was March 1st, we extended
Due
it.
to
I asked
FTE.
you to wait till we had the plant survey back. because
No,
we
it
were
was said
actually
due to
trying waive
FTE.
that.
Okay, the
And
FTE, we
you had
honored
asked
that.
for that,
Yeah,
and I kept hounding Mr. Ginn to
right.
get hold of Ms. Brown.
Yes, we were aware of that. All right, so what's the next step then? They have, we have already told them they had to move.
I think you need to contact back the DOE, make sure they understand your plans. You may want to go ahead and move those folks out of there. If you, I mean, wherever they were gonna go, if you sold the
Right.
property, you may want to go ahead and do that.
Right, well, if their deadline is March 1st, that's next
Soon.
week.
It's next week.
Well, I think the superintendent's saying they hadn't been informed they had to get out by March 1.
They were told, yes.
Oh, they were told, okay.
Yeah,
They
we
were trying
already,
to get through our survey week.
we gave them time to do that.
So as
So-
soon as they get out, then DO needs to come back and readdress the plant
You need
survey.
to request DOE to update the survey.
Let's do that then. They'll be out by March 1st, and the DOE will come back and do another survey.
I think you have to request them to do that.
We'll request it, okay. All right, if you'll get with Mr. Ginn on that then.
I will speak with Ms. Brown, I will call her, because
Okay.
like I said, I did contact her regarding the annotation.
Are they maybe thinking since the credit union's there, is that why? I mean, Again,
Is there room for the credit union over here?
I would have to make room, but I do not believe they have intentions of coming over here.
Okay. All right, so do we have to?
well, wait, Ms. Gibson, back to that, where are they planning to go? Because we have to furnish them a spot, don't we?
There's other reasons that I will talk to you privately about that. I do not want to do that on live.
Well, again, if we offer them a spot and they don't go to it, Mr. Reeves, then
I think they are interested if we should decide to go down the road. I think they have inquired about the bid process.
So the first step is to vacate the building then? All right. Is there any action?
I think you probably want to go ahead and do a motion in a second on that, because I think what Superintendent said, they want something in minutes, and
She asked for
Okay.
board approval of the plant survey.
so,
Okay.
but I don't think you approve it because you're not in agreement.
Accepting it, right.
So I think what you do is you would ask to, you make a motion to request DOE update the survey after everyone's vacated the property.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the to approve the DOE vacate, say that again, please.
To request DOE update the
Request-
survey
To request the DOE to update the survey
after the building's vacated.
after the building has been vacated.
I'll make the motion to ask DOE to come back and do the plant survey after the building is vacated.
Okay, second.
second.
We have a motion by Ms. Williamson, second by Mr. Alford. Any discussion or questions on this?
So they're gonna have to be moved out by March the 1st?
That was the original plan, right? And they were told. By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 4-1. Staffing table, Mr. Stallnaker.
Madam Chairman, in the package, you also have printed copies of the staffing table changes that were made. We cleaned it up and scrubbed it as best as possible to get everybody underneath the correct funding source. The first page, the green and white page, is all general fund or categorical, SI, class I reduction. And the red is the grant. And once all is said and done, we'll have decreased our staff from 163 from 17-18 to 157 from 18-19.
Any questions for Mr. Stallnaker?
I don't have any questions, but, and we've gotten so much paperwork lately. Are speech therapists paid from general fund? They can't be paid from another fund?
Yes, and I actually had a meeting with Ann Glass with DOE yesterday, yesterday morning, and the issue we have to kind of juggle around is the Medicaid bill with the therapist, but at the end of the day, we can take a large percentage of their contracted pay and pay it through IDEA and still pay a small percentage to the general fund, and it shouldn't affect our Medicaid billing amounts. And at the end of the day, I had that as one of my items here at the end of my presentation as areas to address for possible savings, but the answer to your question is yes. I have spoken with Ms. Newman regarding this. I need to follow up with her and make sure we're on the same page, but that is a good point and something we are actively looking into right now. I've checked with other districts. I've checked with prior CFOs here. Whatever was done, wasn't done, whatever, we need to look at seriously getting that done now. So I didn't mean to get long-winded on
Oh, no, that's fine.
good point.
Does that include OT and PT also services?
Mr. Alford, I think it's
Yes, because you had said it would be everything for Medicaid billing.
Because I know that one of the speech therapists is listed under general fund, and she is at the top of the scale, and 11 months, and that's quite a chunk out of general fund.
It is we've got to make some kind of move there, and absolutely.
And again, if you're looking at the Medicaid, I don't know,
You'd be better off not to do
not to do the Medicaid and do it under IDEA, because the small amount you're getting from the Medicaid, because to get a higher reimbursement, it would have to be one-on-one. The probability of you having one-on-one students are very low. You have to do small groups, and again, at that point, it's such a low reimbursement rate that you're probably getting maybe a fraction of what the person's salary is in all reality of it.
And again, just moving that small percentage over, we're still going to be able to get roughly the 30,000 or whatever we get. It won't affect our administrative claims, from my
Right.
understanding. So, but again, at the end of the day, if you just get away with the Medicaid billing and move to general fund, you come out ahead at the end of the day.
With that department, you would.
Yeah, we can work around that, and again, I haven't gotten into the details of those movements, so I don't want to get out of bounds without communicating with her. But that's on my priority list. Because that's there's not a lot of areas like that where we can go back to the beginning of the fiscal year and recoup general fund money that's already been expended. And if we can do that with a big portion there, that would be a great thing.
That would be well over a couple $100,000 in savings.
I think our budget's 195 for all of them, but I'm gonna probably have to amend it up. But absolutely huge.
I mean, yeah.
And let me address one other thing. We looked at, you had Ms. Williamson, a question sometime back about the bus.
I saw that was taken care of. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions about the staffing table? All right. Is there a motion to approve the staffing table?
I make the motion to approve the staffing table.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alford to approve the staffing table, second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 5-0. Thank you. Personnel changes, Dr. Pickles.
There's no spring volunteers this evening. From Central, there's a food service worker, a teacher, a para, and then from Greenville and Lee, there's the part-time custodians. So these are either our resignations or terminations. Under the administrative content, and please tell me if this is not the format you like it, we will try to get this correctly for you. I have put the enrollment by school, all students, and then our students that are earning the FTE. So I can put this in here and enroll for you each time. And then Mr. Stallmacher has put our list of vacancies in there in an Excel spreadsheet. So you have that information. So at the high school, there's 486 that are actually generating FTE. At Central, there's 985. At Greenville, it's 123. At Lee, it's 203. And at Pinetta, it's 200. That pulls out everybody for the enrollment in our pre-K. So those are our FTE numbers.
For the chart you have there, could you do another box and have teacher vacancies and just put 4, 5, 1, 0 instead of the narrative form?
Oh, so
right next to this.
Okay, so you don't want the spreadsheet?
I would rather have it right there to see it and just a number, just
Okay,
a number.
just want a number.
I don't want an explanation because, again, what are we going to do about the explanation? I mean, I want to know if you don't have someone in there.
If I could, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Also, that's not on the public website. I think that information probably ought to be on the public.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it doesn't have names, but.
that's fine. Well, originally they said they wanted it at their table, so I did want to at least try to put it in here so they would have it each time. I can add it as a document then under the public. So you just add a number of teachers as you see the column.
Thank you, Dr. Pickles. Is there a motion to approve the personnel changes?
I'll make the motion to approve the personnel changes.
I have a question. Concerning the one termination we have here.
Before you've got a motion.
Got to get a
Yeah,
second.
Okay.
let's do our questions. We have a motion.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Williamson, second by Ms. Bell, to approve the personnel changes. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question on
Mr. Alford?
the termination we have. We haven't received any information on the termination.
Mr. Alford, unfortunately, this is confidential nature. I can discuss it with you individually as a board member because it does involve students.
But
If I may.
Go ahead.
I think you're, with the termination, there are times obviously that has to be confidential, but I don't think the board can vote on that if you don't know why they're being terminated. But if we're talking about having another meeting here pretty soon anyway to talk about, or what am I trying to say, the
Policy.
policy and all that, you could go ahead and move that one to the next meeting, and then that would give Sam time to talk to each of you and fill you in on what it is.
I mean, I don't feel comfortable voting tonight until we see it.
Let's withdraw this personnel changes.
All of them are just that one.
Just
Just
approve
the
all of them but
termination.
that.
Well, okay, we can do that.
So you got 4 resignations and 1 termination, you could just approve everything but the termination.
We'll approve everything but the
So
termination.
I'm going to then amend my motion to approve the personnel changes minus the termination.
All right, we have a motion to approve the personnel changes minus the termination. Second by Ms. Bell. All right, any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Becky, 5-0.
Ms. Gibson, excuse me just for a moment. I would like for Mr. Reeves to clarify with me as a board member what we're entitled to, because, we've sat through expulsion hearings, we've been the judge and jury. I've always thought we were entitled to all information. And could you please clarify that for me? Because like tonight, I mean, although it is a matter of a child, I mean, we're sitting here as board members, we should be entitled to information.
You're entitled to information on the nature of the reasons for the termination and that type of thing, absolutely.
So is there information we're not entitled to?
I don't know that I can tell you that there's absolutely no information you're not entitled to. That generally, though, you are entitled to anything dealing with the district that might possibly come before the board. There's probably not a lot that wouldn't possibly come before the board. I think there would be issues if, for instance, if you were just wanting to go willy-nilly through files for no good reason, I think there'd be an issue there. But if it's something that pertains to your duties or something you have to vote on, you're entitled to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. All right, monthly financial reports, Mr. Copeland.
Can y'all hear me? You should have a copy of the January proposed budget amendments and the January general fund financial report in your package or on board docs. I think I had emailed it also. I want to go through it, and I will answer any questions or find the answers and get back with each of you if you have them.
Let me stop you, Mr.
Yes,
Copeland.
yes,
We
ma'am.
have 2 for January here. Which one are you directing us to? Okay.
This is that's a duplicate.
Just so the board members are aware.
It's the package with, I think, 5 pages in it.
It's got a table of contents and dated February 19th. Obviously, this package reflects the tentative budget amendment we had addressed at the workshop a week or so ago. And on page 1, I kind of put it in a good bit of detail, just so you could see where the line items were falling and the adjustments. Again, the bulk of this is adjusting our projected revenues and adjusting our corresponding expenditures where we can to reflect the reduction in our FEFP beginning the reduction began with the second payment in January through April, when the third calc will come out. But if you look at page 1, the total, this is revenues now, and the total budget amendment is the same as we had looked at the other day. I just have it broken down, $1,099,500, and that total is comprised of the numbers you see there above it. And what those are the categorical funds from the state that we have to carve out. And I just wanted to, to show you the individual lines that were affected by the decrease. So that's the state funding decrease. If you go down where you see a total of $191,481 with a reference RS, that's our budget amendment for the indirect costs that we're going to start charging food service, and also the second and remaining portion of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Pro Share money that we received today. And again, the Pro Share money, we capture roughly 80% of it in the general fund. The other 20% goes to food service and other federal programs, because the payroll and the premiums that generated this refund were paid 20% approximately through federal programs. So we can't capture it all back in general fund. The bottom portion is the expenditure revisions, and we had several of these. Again, the bulk of them relate to adjustments in the FEFP, the adjustments in the amounts that flow through to the charters, the adjustments in the amounts that flow through to DJJ and XL on our contract there. And then there were other various items that I needed to clean up. We had some carryovers in our categoricals that I budgeted them, they dropped off. I don't know what happened, but we just had to shore up our different accounts and identify any areas that we could reduce our budget looking at the fiscal year to date activity. And so that's a layout there. Page 2 is a little additional detail. We don't need to go through there. It reflects back to the prior page. I just wanted y'all to have more. And again, you can always review it and get back with me, and I can help explain it. But we did reduce some expenditure budgets, and including the board, we talked about that, how y'all were under budget fiscal year to date. So we did go in and reduce the budget about $21,000. So that helps. Again, if you go to page, gosh, tell me, I guess I didn't put a page number on there. I used to get in trouble for that. Page 3 is the operating summary by function. where you see your January 2019 revised budget, those numbers reflect the revisions we just went through. And this month I dropped in the month-to-date activity. I think that might be helpful for y'all to see in addition to just the year-to-date activity. And then that way I can give you that general ledger detail that I sent. It's pretty thick, but you can see every line item that hits these totals on a monthly basis. I couldn't send you the fiscal year to date when it would be 1,500 pages. So if we can drop the month to date in there, in addition to looking at checks and getting involved that way, you can see what's actually hitting each one of these line items on a monthly activity basis. We're 7 months into the fiscal year, which is 58.33% of the year. You'll see that our revenues, if you look the far right percentage, our revenues are higher than that. That's mainly the case of, again, we've had to reduce our budget. We've received a higher amount than we're going to receive the rest of the year, so that's going to normalize as we move forward. If you look at the expenditures, again, we're 58.33% of the year. Expenditures are 56.65% of the year. Again, that's a reflection of the revenues being higher than they're going to be going forward. But we're trying to pick apart every line item we can. I don't think we're out of bounds on anything. We can monitor things and just be cautious of everything and try to stay within our budget and do better than our budget. And with this being said, if you take this out to the end of June, based on what we're projecting our categorical restrictions to be at the end of the year, we should be hitting right at a 3% fund balance. And taking into account the revenue that's going away, I think that's an accomplishment if we can get there and then retool for next year. I wanted to share with y'all, and I had shared with Ms. Williamson. She brought up the question with the IDEA funding of the therapist, but just some other things we're looking into right now is, I'm not a centralization guy, but with our school level purchasing and supplies and things like that, Ms. Bishop's helping, and we're looking at centralizing that somewhat. I'm scared we've got heavy inventory items at one school and not at the other. We need to work as one, and if somebody's got 12 cases of toilet paper, they need to give it to somebody else before we buy any. And that's not a big dollar item, but we're looking at everything.
When do you think that could be in effect by next school year?
The centralized purchasing, we've already
actually
worked on doing that.
To talk, and Ms. Roderick has actually been trying to ensure we're utilizing our grants. Ms. Roderick's been trying to work with the schools to ensure specific orders that she can order things out of Title I and some of our other grants to be sure that we're spending our grants accordingly, and we're spot on with our spending.
But that would be with instructional, but Title I doesn't supply cleaning supplies and toilet paper.
But she's, as far as the teachers and the different school supplies, she's checking that.
It's worked out real well because she's the level right below me on every PO string, so she's caught a lot of good things. But
I do think we would save a lot with cleaning supplies and toilet paper and paper towels and things that we take for granted, of having a central supply that goes out where you could order in bulk and get the best price rather than just having.
I agree with you too, and we're going to put our heads together, and it's not rocket science. We just need somebody to ramrod it and make sure we're all on the same page in the same songbook. Also, year-to-date, one area that we've addressed that's going to help us and has helped us is we've found some expenditures that we can allocate to digital allocation. Mr. Goyette over there and I meet every week, and we look at that. What that does is that helps us keep that big categorical restriction down. And digital allocation's been the real issue in prior, that we've had to mitigate. And so we did have some expenditures, copiers, things like that do qualify for digital allocation that we just have never, or put them through there. So that's an area I went back and reclassed as much as I could dig out year to date. Contract reviews and terminations of vendor relationships that are not advantageous. We are, just like the copier contracts we had, anything that we can stop and look at is imperative. And where I want people to make money, I have no tolerance when they make too much money on me. They don't get a second chance. And we just need to be sure that we're diligent on that. And we've identified a few areas to make some moves. Review of the district benefits management process and possible consolidation of benefits position with another district employee or transfer, which could help possibly, eliminate through attrition one or two positions. And we've got a great benefits lady in there, Miss Alderman, but she is retiring. And so we're trying to see around corners with that and make sure that we handle accordingly and involve who we need to involve. And again, the last item I had right here was what I mentioned earlier about the possible short year renewal of our health insurance. I'm really picking that apart and getting some feedback from others. I don't want to miss an opportunity just because it's going to be heartburn. We can't afford to leave anything on the table. And so I'll keep y'all apprised of that if it gets to be, and the insurance committee, obviously. But that's basically all I had right now. And if there's anything else, I'll try to answer or find an answer and get back to you.
Thank you. Thank you for sending us the information today.
Well, I'll try to get it sooner if I can get these auditors out of here. And so, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland.
Thank you.
Old business personnel position request.
Are you going to accept his monthly financials?
Yes, I'm going to accept it. Is there a motion to accept the monthly financial reports, Mr. Copeland?
I make the motion to accept the monthly financial reports.
Second. Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Alford, second by Mr. Daniels, to accept the monthly financial reports. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? 5-0, Becky. Old business personnel position request, Dr. Pickles.
In our last meeting, if you'll recall, we had old business, the personnel request. There were 3 various positions. Now there's only 2. After speaking with Ms. Brown at Lee and then speaking with our custodian here, that custodian will fill that half-time position at Lee, and then she'll be half-time here. So once again, I bring these 2 positions now.
One of those positions is true.
Yes, that's how we get there. The 2 positions are food service and then the payroll benefits. For the food service, there are 2 at Central, and that's, the federal programs that are self-funded. And then, but however, the payroll benefits, that will be a general fund position to replace our payroll and then Miss Alderman's retirement. And as we talked about last time, Mr. Copeland said he felt we could find somebody much lower and he would look within. Mr. Stoneacker explained how with our advertising now, it is advertised outside and internally all at the same time, 5 days. But I feel certain we'll have somebody apply within and I can't imagine why we wouldn't.
I just want to say something concerning the lunchroom worker. That I don't know really why that's here, because we had said that food service as long as it was self-funded. Now concerning the payroll person, I hear what you're saying, but in all reality, if someone is hired from out on the street, if cuts are made, they're the last hired. They will be the first to be cut. So I think it is silly for us to even entertain and why you don't unilaterally involuntary transfer someone to this position.
I have to follow our contract too. So,
Well, I understand, but again, if it's going to mean us hiring someone, then I don't know where we can do it, because again, it's coming out of the fund, it's coming out of the general fund, and we've gone through a circus the past month and a half trying to get up our general fund, and now we're fixing to bring it out of it. And you know what? I want Mr. Copeland to have it, but as a board member, we're sitting here and we're reviewing stuff down to $250, and we have this position. Again, when we have many secretaries in the district, I mean, we're not secretary poor. You have people to choose from, and in all reality, if we do find someone, if we advertise and find someone on the street that is a good candidate, they start. Is that fair to them, for them to work for a few months and then have to be let go?
in all fairness, I do believe Mr. Copeland plans on trying to look internally first. I truly believe he does.
But I'm not saying that he's not, Dr. Pickles. I'm saying that in reality, if someone is hired not from the district, we are going to have to more than likely cut
Then
them.
I would probably freeze if there is not anyone that applies from within the district. I will just have to see after the 5 days. I will just freeze it, and then until we ever even advertise it, I don't know internally anybody who would be interested to try to go.
Well, I make the motion that you may advertise internally. You may advertise, and if no one applies within the district to transfer to the position, then it's frozen.
Mr. Alford has a motion out there that says if they were advertised within the district and if no one applies, the position is frozen.
Or if the person doesn't.
Well, you got a motion, I'm sorry, you get a second.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Okay, so what if you you advertise, are we advertising just internally, or how does that work? Do we advertise internally and then externally, or?
The hiring procedure says advertise internally and externally at the same time.
So you're going to have to.
So what if you get people applying
Right.
from inside and outside? You've got to then evaluate them all together. I think one of the things, I don't think the contract prohibits the transfer of someone if you wanted to do that. If the superintendent wanted to do that, not the board. Until June 30. I think we're talking about, is it March through June? Whatever the date is through June 30. And then you're not adding anybody to the payroll. And you can do that. Now, I don't know that, and like I say, you may not have anybody want to, but you can involuntarily transfer somebody to do that work. That would be an option. But I think if you open it up and you advertise to everybody, you're going to have to pick the best out of the pool.
You're right. Currently, Mr. Copeland, who is doing the payroll?
This is,
Ms. Jones
Still.
Contracted.
contracting, and my ultimate goal was to combine our payroll position and our benefits position into one. In phase out, Joanne, we're in a situation where you just have to trust me on this, and we don't need to make any moves until we get our skyward
implemented paperless and everything done. If we, and I think at the end of the day, we're still saving a little money by contracting than we would if we had a full-time employee in there.
So what I'm hearing you say at this point, with this Ms. Goins, we are still saving money with it.
I can't swear to you, but I think so, and I can find out.
And what I'm hearing you say
Just
is,
doing back of the envelope math in my head, yes.
I mean, I would think you would with the benefits, not including those. And I'm also hearing you say that you would like for her to stay until Skyward is completely in place. Is that what you're saying?
I would like her to stay during a transition phase, and I guess, she could go tomorrow. I'd like to kind of plan that strategy a little better than just hiring somebody. I can't just say, we're done.
Well, again, I personally, I don't have an issue with her staying in it until this is settled, till we have a better idea of knowing what we're going to do post June or July, or maybe even the fall when school starts. I don't have an issue with that.
No, I agree with you 100%.
I have an issue with us hiring somebody and we're on a hiring freeze. If the lady's already there, then why would we get rid of her and hire someone new that we're more than likely going to have to cut, with being the last hired in a few months?
Well, the only thing I can think of there is, it's my full intention to, like you said,
Right.
Dr. Pickens and I have talked about it, but I also need the most qualified person I can get.
I understand. I understand that, and I just think at this point, and I'm only one board member, that until we get our fund balance to where it needs to be, I think we need to stay with what we're doing.
I'm perfectly good with that,
And again, I don't want you to think that it's us trying to be difficult or what, but it's just, it sends a very bad message to people that if we've done a hiring freeze and we're about to have to make cuts, that we're hiring somebody else. It just seems strange. It seems upside down.
This is actually why we pulled this at the last meeting.
Right.
And I see they solved the problem with the janitors. They worked it out, which is great. But right now, we've got two food service and a payroll benefits person we're talking about.
Well, the food service is paid out of their own.
Right.
So the payroll is what we're looking at. And
maybe like my assistant finance manager, nobody in the district applied for it, must not want to work with it.
well, I don't know that that's the case, but
I don't think so.
what scares me is that you will have people in the community apply for it that may be good applicants, and it's not going to be fair to them or to us or to you.
I think we're on the same page.
Can I interject? When we do interviews, Mr. Alford and the rest of the board, the interview committee sits there and they select the top 3 candidates. You're not bound to choose the top scoring candidate. You just have to choose somebody out of the top 3. So theoretically, you could have somebody from the community. There could be 1 or it could be 2. But you're not bound to choose that top person. You can choose anyone out of the top 3.
That I still would like to wait till after June the 30th.
Okay. Could I at least get permission, because at our last meeting, you pulled all of it. So could I at least get permission for the food service? Mr. Copeland and I will try to come up with some type of strategy
I
for
will be in a bit of a bind.
his.
I need to move here shortly, but I've got some other ideas, and I'm looking at some other ways on the benefits side to help things work, but I just don't have anything definitive I can share right now. I would hate to share it and it not even be a possibility of coming to fruition. So I think we can figure something out that gets us by.
If he and I can talk, if I could at least have the motion amended to at least do the food service, he and I put our heads together, figure out what we could do with Ms. Alderman's position, because that's the concern that we're having.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the personnel position request minus the payroll benefits?
think you've got a motion and a second.
I-
Well, we
I-
got-
I'll change, I'll amend my motion to,
Bart made the
Oh,
motion,
Bart-
Susie amended.
Bart did it?
I mean,
Okay.
I
Susie.
did.
Bart did.
I would like to, I will amend my motion to include only the food service, the 2 food service workers paid out of food service, and that's the only 2 to be included.
We have a motion to, for the personnel position request for the 2 food service. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? 5-0, Becky. Superintendent items?
At 4:35, 4:36 today, you all should have received an email from Ms. Pridgeon. The commissioner accepted our fiscal recovery plan. The reason I need to make sure you approve the financials, we do have to send our financials monthly, so I will, this evening, I will go ahead and send our monthly financials, although I do believe they have this one. I would still go ahead and say these were approved tonight and send those over, so from now until then. But if you haven't already received and read the letter, you do have it in your email. So there was a statement there said to please, however it was worded, to restore us above the 3% or immediately. And I thought, well, we have the plan, and I did say, let them know that one of our strategies was our pro share, and that can come in. Just to advise you, in case you hear it on the street, there is a stomach bug circulating around Central. So there were a few of the restrooms and a few places, they've done a little extra deep cleaning because it's affecting, I believe it's 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So, you know how it is, students are around one another, they share. The football banquet, I'm not sure if you attended, but it was a success last night. And then as Mr. Copeland said, the pro share came in. And then lastly, Disc Village has been awarded a planning grant. And so they've asked me to be a participant and to assist them in improving substance abuse prevention and treatment recovery services. And the grant is for Madison and Taylor counties. So they are coming up with drafting a needs assessment and customized strategic plan for the 2 counties. So they sent me this agreement or MOU for me. So, but they have a planning grant on the opioid issue in our 2 counties. So that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Pickles. Mr. Reeves?
I don't have anything other than, I took pretty good notes on the changes y'all were talking about to the purchasing contract. What I think might be helpful is I can copy this into my PDF to allow me to do changes. Let me kind of write these up. It's not tonight. I'll email it out to everybody. Everybody can be looking at it. Because I think it's complicated, and I'm afraid it's going to get confused as to what everybody actually did. And if the board wants me to do that, I can do that.
That'd be great.
Yes, the pleasure of the board?
Yes, ma'am,
Yes.
please.
Okay.
Should we make a date for when do you think would be a good time for us to go over this with Mr. Stallmaker? How much time do you need, or you need, or?
As soon as I get something back from Neola. So I can-
Okay.
But then once we do that, please remind us to take 28 days to advertise.
Okay,
So it's going to take 28 days to advertise the public hearing to change it.
right.
Now, what I think we're talking about with y'all is the meeting where y'all are going to tell him to start that advertising. So that would be very soon, I think, if y'all want to, or you've got a workshop coming up on
March
March
4th.
4th, we can do it at that, however you want.
Okay. How does the board feel about that?
What is the date, or we need to set a date that we're going to start reviewing the bills?
We try to cut AP checks on at least every other Thursday, and usually a few every Thursday, so we just need to get everything reviewed by y'all by Wednesday.
So would a Tuesday work for the board, I mean, to make it where we're not,
We probably need, Mr. Alford, we probably need to get it Wednesday.
okay.
We can have everything tested on Tuesday.
Will you say the day and,
Maybe what you want to do is to let Mr. Copeland send around a list of those Thursdays, right, that he wants to do it, and then y'all can just do the Wednesday beforehand. That's how you set it.
It may be better if it works with y'all's schedule, maybe at sometime Thursday between morning and lunch.
I will have a conflict for the county commissioners meets on some Wednesday evening.
Okay.
Well, and we have 3 board members that have other
Full-time.
jobs to be.
We can make it work.
But I know it is church night, so maybe we could do it earlier than 6 o'clock so that we could do that and get to church if you wanted to
It
do that.
depends on the people who are working. Have jobs.
4:30 would be fine.
it would be fine. I mean,
How early
it'd be
with
fine.
you, Reggie, all of the workers?
So
I'm not a
I could be
worker.
here by 4.
4:30.
what about you?
Yeah, I can.
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock's good?
So we could do it at 4:30, you said? 4.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock on the Wednesdays before the Thursdays that you need to do that. If you just let us know which Thursdays you need to.
4:15, 4:30 would be better for me.
4:30 is fine.
That's fine.
So Mr. Copeland's going to send around a list of the Thursdays you're talking about.
Every Thursday.
Is it every Thursday?
It's at every
So it's
week.
going to be 4:30 every week.
Every Wednesday,
Okay.
4:30.
Is that a good time for you too, Mr. Reed?
Yeah, that's probably the best time on Wednesday because the Board of County Commissioners either meets at 9 a.m. or at 6, so the 4:30 would fit in.
Right.
So
Okay.
4:30 on Wednesday?
4:30 on Wednesday. Is that a good time for you?
Okay, and we're going to do this Wednesday. Or we don't, do you need us to come this Wednesday?
Will you be able to have this stuff together by tomorrow?
No, start, that'll be fine. We can start next week.
We may want to start following.
The following.
That's fine.
Let's start.
All righty.
Okay. All right, so that's going to be
Now, how often are we talking?
We're saying every week. So
every week.
Every week?
Is that going to be okay with you?
I can send it, and now it's easy to send as a PDF to review. I mean, I'm wide open to whatever y'all want to do.
Once a month?
No.
No, you got to pay bills before that. Can't go on that.
What's a good time for you, Mr. What time?
Yeah, I would need a couple of, my job, I travel as well, but I mean, I can adjust my schedule. I just didn't know how often. So every week till, you're saying till July, is what you're saying?
Mr. Alford, may I ask a question? I asked Mr. Reed, your policy changing you're proposing, doesn't that do what you're wanting to accomplish?
I still would
Policy
like
and
to
everything?
see the bills.
Okay.
I think one thing, if I can jump in, when we've had to do this before, when the board meets every week, it's going to be very difficult for all 5 of you.
I mean, it may be times you can't be here.
That's
There may
right.
be some times that you just simply can't.
And at that time, I guess you could refer to the email that he sends.
So we'll try to get here.
Right.
If you got 3 here, 2 of you can call them the telephone
Right.
too.
Okay. Right.
I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, this would be like a workshop, I guess, if you will, or, so in all reality, I mean, there may be times that people can't all be here.
That's right. And we have to take in consideration that we have some people that actually have full-time jobs.
Right.
Now, did you say 5 o'clock is good for you?
Not that week,
4:30 is good for you? Okay. Whatever's,
And then I think actually you're going to have to notice it as a special meeting because you guys are actually going to be active.
Okay.
okay. All right.
The week that we do the workshop, are we still gonna meet on that week too, that Wednesday? Like on Tuesday and Wednesday?
Monday and
Monday
Wednesday.
and Wednesday?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, board member items, Ms. Susie.
I do want to thank everybody that's worked so hard to get us out of this. Mr. Copeland, thank you so much. And looking at all those different things that you were able to move to different fundings to help save us and all, we appreciate that so much. And I want to thank Ms. Gibson for handing out those ribbons in that that hog.
That was a fun part.
Hog arena. I've been knocked down in there. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I was stepped on. I was stepped on by about a 250-pound hog, but I got over it pretty quick. That was a lot of fun. Ms. Bell?
I would like to thank everyone that assisted in the process of getting the district back at the 3%. And us as board members and the superintendent, I want us to continue to work together to agree or disagree peacefully to come up with the best solution that would benefit our district.
Thank you.
I want to thank Mr. Copeland for all his work in the finance department. And again, I just want to reiterate the changes that I feel that we need to move forward is not a punitive on anyone. It's just something that we need to do to be good stewards of this money. And again, if anyone feels that it's punitive, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say other than we're just trying to do the best we can for the students of this district, and I feel that it would be an injustice for us not to.
Thank you, Mr. Alford.
I concur. My fellow board members.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. I did have the pleasure of handing out ribbons at the livestock show last night during the pig judging. The show continues throughout the week. I want to congratulate all of our seniors who are being accepted into institutions of higher learning. Take advantage of these wonderful opportunities and soar like an eagle. I want to congratulate the band members who competed in the MPA solo and ensemble this past weekend. It was a good job for all. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Stanzi. Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Barbara Danzig. I am also the mayor of the town of Greenville. I want this to go on record. In the future, if there is any discussions about Greenville Elementary Schools, I would like a seat at the table as well as the town manager and any other council members when necessary. We have an interlocal agreement as well as you all received a letter from our town attorney. Thank you.
Dr. Pickles,
Thank you, Ms. Danzig.
I know we have a community committee that's forming. Could we have somebody from the town council at Greenville and Lee to be on it? I know Pinetta does not have a town council.
I can. I was going with each of the recommendations that you sent me from your communities.
Well, I did send you somebody from my district. Nobody in Greenville lives in my district. If you're on the town council in Greenville, you don't live in my district.
So you're saying that just people on this committee are the people we recommended?
Oh, no, there's community people too.
So who recommended those?
Various people. I actually had somebody from Greenville. Just a moment. I actually had somebody, a former council member, recommend somebody else from Greenville. And
I mean, couldn't you just add a couple more people?
yeah, I'll look at my number because we were trying not to keep the committee too large.
Well, I don't think it's too much to ask for someone from
And then
the Lee community, Pinetta, and Greenville be added to the table.
oh no, there are.
But no. I mean, you have the mayor here making a request that someone from that community be added to the table. I think that,
I believe I have two from Greenville. I don't have a council member, but I have two from Greenville. I have two. I'll have to get the list.
But the things that,
Right out.
Well, the interlocal agreement is with the town of Greenville, and those council members, so, I'd like to know who the two members are and how
I'll
they
get the
would
list
show.
for you after our meeting.
Okay.
What you could do is you could have the town councils in each of those municipalities give you something,
I thought that'd be great.
yeah.
if y'all want to do that.
Do we need to make a motion to do that? Ms. Gibson, can we make a motion?
Yes.
Will you amend the agenda?
Yes.
I amend the agenda to make the motion to allow for the town councils at Lee and Greenville to nominate someone to be on this committee.
We have a motion to the town councils of Lee and Greenville to be on the committee.
I think what happened, remember the chair has to make the motion, has to amend the agenda. I think you did that. I think, Mr. Alford, I think the motion was to amend the agenda to do that. I don't think you meant to do that. I think you meant to just go ahead and do it. So you might want to restate your
Okay, I would like to make the motion to allow for a person from the town council in Lee and the town council in Greenville for their council to nominate someone to serve on this committee.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Alford for the town councils in Lee and Greenville for someone on their council to attend the meeting, the long-range planning meeting.
councils to put some.
The council will nominate someone to be on the long-range planning committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Reggie. Any questions or discussions?
I just don't want anyone to feel like they're left out or disenfranchised. I mean, I want everybody to feel that we're trying to be as transparent and open about this as we can be, and that's why I'm all for anyone wanting to be at it can be at it.
Right, and
Right.
what happens, what decisions may be made concerning the schools impacts that community.
Excuse me. Say that again, please.
I said, what decisions that could be made that impacts the school in a community affects that community.
And I think it's important that everybody has a say in this.
Right.
Now, I don't know if there's anyone in charge. I think we need to be very careful with putting people in charge. Because in the past, I know people were put in charge and some people dropped out because they didn't feel like they had a say in it.
We just
In
need to
different
make sure
committees.
that all people have a say, and that again, these are suggestions to the board. Suggestions to the board from this committee.
Right. All right.
Can we vote?
And I signed up for public comment of a non-agenda item after Ms. Bishop picked up the.
Do we vote? Why do we need to
Wait,
vote?
let's, yeah, okay. In just a minute. By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? 5-0, Becky. Ms. Hubbard?
I would just like to say, this is for the good of the order, considering all the negative publicity the board has been receiving in the last several weeks. On last Friday, I was at home peacefully enjoying my second cup of coffee for the morning, and I received a call from a parent who was at the Madison County High School Black History Program. She asked me where the superintendent and the board members were. I flippantly responded that I don't keep those folks in my back pocket. Then I immediately tried to defend your absence, surprise, surprise, and asked if the board had been invited or informed. She responded, yes, last year too. I can't deny or support that statement. I was informed that the sponsor, Ms. Gail James, and the students worked really hard and sponsored a student-led program that we all would have been proud of. They had concurrent workshops, and the speakers were students, former Madison County High School students, who are currently attending college or gainfully employed. After that, they had a student-led program that was outstanding in the auditorium. I'm sharing this concern with the board because the students deserve better. They deserve your support, as each of you promised during your campaigns. The sponsors deserve your appreciation and support. I assure you, Ms. Gail James gave this program her 100% in preparation, because I know her that way. And a lot of it was after hours. I don't know if you were invited or informed. I'm sharing a concern that was brought to my attention. I tried to make apologies for each of you. Again, surprise. I said that Ms. Gibson usually attends all school events.
When
and
Mrs.
she's
Gibson
aware.
knows about it, Mrs.
That's
Gibson
what I said.
attends.
I also
Mrs. Gibson
said
does
that
attend.
Mrs. Williamson was hospitalized after last board meeting, so possibly that was, the issue. And I explained that Mr. Alford and Mr. Daniels work during school hours. And they specifically asked me about the superintendent. I said I cannot speak for the superintendent. So, when I present a problem, I like to try to present a solution. I would encourage the board to be present as often as possible at school events. At one time, we had a process in place where at our monthly principals meetings, the principals would share a calendar of activities at the principals meeting. And the superintendent would make a copy and leave on the desk for the board members. The superintendent would also share that with the public so that as a retiree who usually attends board meetings, I would be made aware, sitting there in the audience, and I could also have attended that program had I known about it. And again, I would just like to say, the students deserve our support. Now, I know that you all cannot attend every event that's held at all our schools, but if there's a process by which you all could schedule and agree amongst yourselves for at least one board member and the superintendent is there, I'm sure that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I didn't know a single thing about it.
Again, if it came in email, I didn't get the email, and
No.
again, Ms. James, I want to thank her for all that she does. She was my high school Spanish teacher back many, many years ago, and many. And again, I'm sorry to her, and I want to apologize to her. I didn't receive anything. I mean, I don't know if it went to our junk.
I'm friends with, I've taught with Mrs. James.
Right.
I'm a friend with her. I mean, when I go to the high school, I step into her class and see how things are going. No apologies are needed on my behalf to someone else, because when something's going on, I attend. I've attended.
What day was that?
That's what I told you.
Yeah,
Miss
but I like your suggestion. I really do.
Hubbard.
I've asked for something like this in the
What was the
past.
date of the,
It was last Friday.
It's over.
15.
Is
Ms.
it-
Hubbard, would you please, let whoever called you know, I've searched, I have nothing from Ms. James nor from Ms. Wilders.
No, I
That's
didn't.
why I said I did not
I
support
can't-
that statement.
I can attend something I do not know about.
Right.
But I will
And I
also
agree.
let you know that Friday I was working on edits for DOE, so I possibly most likely could not have gone because they requested additional documents.
And that's
for our
why I
fiscal
said-
year.
That's why I reminded the board of past practice in principals informing the superintendent and the superintendent in turn informing the board members. That would alleviate that not knowing, not being aware.
I think
do
that's a
have
wonderful
better-
idea.
We do need a better way of informing board members of activities. For
Yes.
nothing, I mean, even compared to like events that students like programs or programs at schools, games they may be having, it's very hard to figure out like what's going on.
I realize it. I think the closest I got to this was Miss Chansey. I saw her little Valentine church thing over the weekend, and she was describing things that were going on, and I thought, well, it sounds neat. Never was I informed of it, though, because I strive to be as involved as much as I can, but when you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, I remember, Ms. Hubbard, when each principal at the first of the month would turn in all the activities that were going to be going on at their school within that month.
Right.
Then it was put into one calendar of the school and the event and given to us.
One thing, Ms. Hubbard, I want to thank you for presenting, because something popped in my mind just now that I've been meaning to say. Following the Teacher of the Year banquet, and we need to look at this district from risk management, following the Teacher of the Year banquet, the parking lot in the high school as you come out of the cafeteria is not lit at all. That night, we had a teacher that fell in the parking lot, and I encouraged the teacher the next day. She was able to get up, but I encouraged her to file a report. I meant to call her to check, but it slipped my mind. But anyway, with that being said, I was working Sunday at the nursing home where I work, and one of the nurses that was there with her daughter that night fell that night and broke her ankle. And I have the paperwork, and I just need to know who to turn it into here to so we can handle that. But she broke her ankle, and all I can say is, to her is, I saw someone right in front of me fall. As you come out, as you step off the sidewalk down into the parking lot, the parking lot is black, and at night, there's no lights there, and it all looks like
It's
one
even.
solid black hole, and you don't see the drop-off. I don't know if it needs to be painted or glow-in-the-dark paint where you can see it at night, but there is a huge risk management. I mean, I saw someone fall that night, and then this person broke their ankle.
Also, the direct opposite of the campus to the other side, coming out of the gym, Nazi's.
It's dark.
Is dark. Because right after the graduation last year, we come out and everybody was trying to find each other and all of that, so both sides.
Are those big floodlights not?
There's floodlights on the side of the building, but where you get to where it's like,
You're under the bus ramp,
the
sidewalk,
bus ramp
and you step off
and the sidewalk going
to
out
the parking lot, you
is
can't
flat.
see that there's a step.
The solution would be to attach the post where the floodlight is on the corner north of the bus ramp, shining down that direction.
Well,
Right,
well, you
and,
need to-
or maybe have one of those strips of reflective paint right there at the edge, so that
Where
you
you
can
can
tell
see
there's
that
an
it's
edge.
Because again, it's a black hole as you're walking out, because the night that I saw this teacher fall, again, I didn't see the sidewalk until I saw her hit the ground.
Get that paperwork to me.
I have it out in the car. I have her name and the bills and,
Excuse me, I want to state that first large meeting we had, there was another person that fell right there coming out of the
dear.
cafeteria.
it's
dark there.
it's very
You
dark.
cannot see, and that was relevant to every sister who doesn't even live in the county.
Right.
Thank you, Ms.
It's a
Dancy.
big, we
Yeah.
do need to have some type of lights there, because it is a big
I
risk
think
management.
Mr. Ginn could address that.
Someone needs to go out there at night and look at how it's just, because I'm not saying there's not lights around the building, but the lights are like going up to the building. It's not out in the park.
I even tripped that night
Oh.
as I came out and got to that black
Yeah.
part, because I didn't see the drop.
It's a visual
You can't see
perceptual
it, you can't
issue.
tell, you can't
It's
tell.
visual perceptual. It's like a black hole.
So you actually need lighting right there where the drop off is. It shines down on the drop off.
We may be able to touch base with our insurance consortium and see if they'll.
And they wouldn't have to burn all the time,
They do
just, when people are out there.
a very thorough job with school inspections, but again, I don't think it's a night.
No, not
Right,
at night. I
and
wouldn't
that is a huge danger for people. Just how from that, when you step off from the sidewalk to the bottom, if
Actually-
you're walking along talking,
think. Right now, when you walk out this door,
it's dark.
extremely dark.
I'll wipe it out.
You what? Okay, thank you. All right, that should be taken care of. Okay, has everyone spoken what they want to speak tonight? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Mr. Alford, second, Ms. Bell. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.